Bill Gove was the best speaker I ever heard. He was the Frank Sinatra of speakers. I was standing way back in the back corner of the room at the O'Hare Hyatt. This is way back years ago, the late 60s. I'm in the back of the room, and Bill Gove has a handheld mic, and he said, if I want to be free, I've got to be me. If I want to be free, I've got to be me. Not the me I think my wife thinks I should be. Not the me I think my kids think I should be. Not the me I think you think I should be. If I want to be free, I got to be me. Now he said, I better know who me is. I'm in the back of the room and I'm thinking, God, this guy's so good at this. If I could only do that. If I could only do that. Well, in Earl Nightingale's Lead the Field, the first recording is on additive. And at one point on that recording, he said, now right here we come to a rather strange fact. We tend to minimize
what we can accomplish, the goals we can reach, and for some equally strange reason, we believe others can reach heights which we cannot.
He said, I want you to realize that that is not true, that you have deep reservoirs of talent and ability. And I'm listening to that, and if you said, you understand that? I said, of course I understand it. I didn't understand it at all. I bet I had listened to that at least 1,000 times, maybe 2. For years I'd been listening to it. Here he is saying, if I want to be free. And I've been thinking, if only I could do that. He can, but I can't, you know. And all of a sudden, that damn record started to play in my head. I thought, that's what he's talking about. That's what he's talking about. That moment, I became aware of the truth in what I'd been listening to for a few years. Our problem is, we have been trained to read the book and then we think we've got it. You could read the book and not have it at all. If you read the same thing over and over and over and you're relaxed and you look at it and you think, what did he really mean? I made up my mind right then, I'm not only going to learn it, I was going to get him to teach me. And Bill Gove became my mentor, my coach. And he taught me how to do what I'm doing right now. Now, I loved what Lawrence of Arabia, T.E. Lawrence, said. He said, I dream in the day. All men dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their mind wake in the day to find that it was vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous men, for they may act their dream with open eyes to make it possible. This I did. When I sat down in a den on Maplewood Lane in Glenview, Illinois, and I wrote on a piece of paper, I will build a company that operates all over the world. I don't know where you are, but I know you're not where I am. You're somewhere in the world. All you're doing is exploring, daydreaming. Take the lid off your marvelous mind and dream. For goodness sake, give yourself the right to do that. Get your analytical mind out of the way. Put it in your pocket for a while. Doesn't matter about all the evidence of why you can't. The Wright brothers were certainly surrounded by sufficient evidence that you couldn't fly. They were bicycle mechanics. Their dad was an Orthodox minister, yet he suggested that they would burn in hell for trying to fly. You think you're different than the Wright brothers? You're no different. You are no different than the Wright brothers. You are no different than Ed Hillary. No different. Where did he get the idea that he could stand on top of the world where no one had ever been? Do you know there's people up there encased in ice? They're never coming down. Nobody's ever been to the top, can't do it. And in 1951, he went and he failed. He failed. He did not get to the top. He told me people at home got angry when he suggested he was going back. They said, you can't go back there, you're going to get killed. Thank God you come back. But in 1952, he went back and he blew it again. He didn't get it. Nobody had ever done it. But in 1953, he and Tenzing Norgay, his Sherpa guide, stood right on top of this world. They did something that couldn't be done because they understood all things are possible. Spirit is 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. There's nowhere where it is not. It's everywhere. Spirit operates by law. Now, one of the laws, the law of vibration, and we use these lines to graphically illustrate levels of vibration or frequencies. Now, the highest side of our personality is the spiritual side. And of course, the lowest side is the physical. Now, there's your polar opposite again, the non-physical and the physical. Here's what we want to understand. The non-physical always manifests through its polar opposite, the physical. Always does. Now, what's sitting in the center? What's sitting in the center is what makes you and I different from all other forms of life. It makes us different from all of nature. I mentioned there's a beautiful Japanese maple right outside my studio. And in the spring, it's sort of a browny green. And then it turns green. And right now, it's turning red. It'll be as crimson as these tablecloths. It happens every fall. Every fall, it turns red. That's by law. The trees grow. The squirrels, they operate by law. Everything does. They operate with nature. They operate with instinct. Instinct is perfect. We had instinct removed and these higher faculties put in this place. Now, through the proper development of the intellect, we can tap into a higher side because every side is connected. Each frequency is hooked up to the one above and one below. There's no line of demarcation where one stops and the other starts. You'll say, well, what does that mean? Well, it has a lot of meaning. It means that you can go and you can change anything into anything. I mean, we have the ability to do that. Let's say that's a glass, and we'll fill it with water. And what we call water is energy. The glass is also energy. Now look at it. That is glass. It used to be sand. There's water in here, and there's ice in here. The ice and the water is energy. The ice used to be water, but because we added cold energy to it, it turned into ice. But it's all energy. Now look at, if we add heat to that, then it's going to start boiling and it turns into something we call steam. It's the same energy. It's just moving at a different speed, so we got a different name for it. We don't call it water anymore. Now we call it steam. If we keep adding heat to it, we'll stop calling it steam and we'll start to call it air, ether, or gas. It's the same energy. Now you say, well, why do we have to study this? We don't. You don't have to study it. But as you start to do it and you start to study, you'll start to understand that with your imagination, you can tap into the ether and you can bring it down into any form you want. And by holding it, you'll put yourself in the vibration you have to be in to attract what you have to attract to cause it to move into physical form. Now that could be money or anything else. Look at the ether, the steam, the water, it's all hooked together. There's no line of demarcation where it stops becoming steam and starts becoming ether. Where it stops becoming water and starts to become steam. You see, what the hell has this got to do with personal growth? I think it's got everything to do with it. You see, what we're doing, we've got the ability inside. There's parts of us, this genius part of us, this human nature, this godlike part of us. We can tap into no thing, and we can make something. What do you want to make? Whatever you want. This is so powerful. Now let's look again. There's the spiritual side, the intellect, and the physical. Now, what we want to do is activate one of those intellectual factors, and that enables us to tap into the non-physical energy, and we pull a group of thoughts together, and we literally build a picture in our consciousness. We'll call that an idea. Now, by holding that idea, the will to do it, as Von Braun said, by holding that idea must, by law, that's the perpetual transmutation of energy, it must move into physical form. You can actually cause that to happen because you have that intellect. And do you know what most people are doing? They're thinking of what they don't want. What did Carnegie say? Any idea that's held in the mind, any idea that's held in the mind, that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered. What did the great sufferer in the Bible, Job, say? Lo, the thing I fear has come to visit upon me. Hold the idea of what you don't want. It's going to manifest in your life just as sure as it's going to get dark. You've got this ability. Any idea that's held in the mind, that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form that's available. That means you can create anything you want. However, you've got to work from the upside down and from the inside out.